Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Sam, and before moving ahead, let me read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not a legal advice. So, use of information is at your own risk. All right, friends, after this very important disclaimer, we are also live on YouTube, available on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. So do follow us from these many platforms and let us know if you guys have any problem or any concern regarding immigration topic and put them on the comment section and we will definitely take them up. All right, with that, today we are here with another, I would say, a very demanding topic, a topic that is on everybody's mind and is on top search list on Google as well. That is how to prepare your H1B application process in 2025. So I know it's H1B season, friends, and you guys are really exhausted, really concerned, really anxious. But with right guidance, I'm sure you will definitely get your visa approved. And in today's webinar, we are going to explore a lot of things. Like firstly, we'll understand these strategies, tips, and tricks. Then we will also understand some common mistakes that most of the applicants do, and they don't even realize that. Also, we'll understand what in case if you get your H1B visa rejected, then what are the alternative options or what are the other paths that you can also take away. And to help me out, I have a very special guest with me who is joining us for the second time on Immigration Talk Show, who is, I would say, a great speaker, great personality, and lots of energy. None other than Attorney Jessica Weiss, who's a top immigration attorney, also known for helping entrepreneurs, investors, and professional athletes with visas like E1, E2, and O1A. She is also awarded the 2019 Global Chamber Award for Immigration Legal Services. So, hi, Jessica, and thank you so much for being here. I was really excited for this webinar. So, again, lots of, I would say, we are really appreciating your time, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this discussion today. It's a pretty tense time. H1B's opened up on Friday, the registry, and there's still so much interest and so much that people don't know, like how to get in line, how to do it the right way, how to, increase your chances of getting the lottery. So I'm looking forward to our talk today.
Absolutely. And after all, there's a lot of different changes also we are seeing right now, Jessica, especially in 2025. And there's a lots of, I would say, questions that we got right now from our audience. So without any further ado, I think let's begin our session with the very first question that is very important. That what's the most important thing that applicants should know about the 2025 H1B visa process?
Okay, it's a process. Just like what you said, H1B is a process. The process has started. It started on Friday. What people need to know is you probably, at least last year, you had 1 out of 7 chance of getting it. Like it says, it's a lottery. So people need to know they want to get in line, they want to file. If you want to win the lottery, you got to take a shot at it. So you have to file. But to file, you have to have certain things in order. So one of the things you have to have in order is you have to be able to have a proper case. So you need a proper sponsor. You need to know that the filing fee now is $215. It used to be a lot smaller when we first started doing these. Is around $10 or so. And also something very interesting to know is, let's say you have several possible job opportunities. So if you do, each sponsor can try to file an H1B from you. So it's not. So the beneficiary, the applicant, whatever, could put in one case with one sponsor, another case with another sponsor, and you could have several shots at the H1B lottery if you have different sponsors. So that's really exciting. That increases your chances. Not everyone has that, but it's good to know that.
That's right. That's right. All right. And also, Jessica, as you said about the registration fees that has been increased from $10 to $15. So, if this is the increase, then can we expect that this could lead to a fewer applicants in 2025 H1B season?
Well, it is a significant increase from the original whatever $10, but the filing fees, if you get approved for the H1B, are very large. That would probably, if someone wants to do an H1B, the sponsor may be hesitant because the filing fees are so large. The filing fees are several $1,000s. for an H1B. And so besides the attorney fee, you've got the filing fees. You don't even know if you're going to win the lottery. Some of the potential employers don't even want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I don't think the $215 registration fee is going to discourage people. I think that the big picture is if they do make the lottery, will that sponsor want to really kick in all that money for the filing fees, attorney fees, and all that? I think that's the bigger issue.
All right, that's interesting. And with that, also, Jessica, I would like to know, is there any change regarding the eligibility requirement in 2025 application process?
So we always every year look at it and see what are the criteria, any changes in any of the criteria. So what they're doing this year, they've come out with some new regulations that they want the degree for the position to closely align with the actual job duties. Meaning, let's say you have a bachelor's degree in business administration. That's a general degree, and you're trying for a position, some kind of business development position. They want to understand how closely they're going to look at that transcript and see what classes you took, how closely that aligns with what you're going to be, will you be using those skills when you go for your H1B? They want to see that that's closely aligned. If it's too broad, too general, it could be a problem. So they've emphasized the degree better match the job requirements. And the other thing is, another thing that happened recently was they clarified self-sponsors and startup entities. This is very interesting stuff. So what they said was, if you're starting a company and you're going to be the owner of the company, you're also going to be the employee, that they want to make sure you have a bona fide entity and you're not required to have an official board that you report to, but they're going to only give you possibly an 18-month H1B instead of the typical, you get a 3-year H1B. But they're opening up a little bit now to if you want to start a company, be self-employed, startup entities like, tech companies, whatever. So they're opening up a little to some of the realities of today, which is a lot of times people do start their own businesses and they need a proper visa to come here. And H1B could be a possible way now if you
Mhm.
set it up correctly. So it could be for entrepreneurs now, other kind of startup companies like that. So yeah, those are two critical things that are coming up with the degree. Has to really get closely with the actual job description. And also now they're getting more accepting of some startup companies, more self-employment for H1B. There are more ways to start doing it now. That's changing. So
That's
those
right.
two.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very good way that you explain, Jessica, with also the example. But Jessica, now as I would say the H1B changes also we are seeing in the policies, most of the startup companies or most of the companies, those are not that good or not that, I would say, financially in a good condition. They are having this complaint that due to this increase in the registration fees or due to this also changes in the policies, maybe they are not able to provide more applicants because they are not able to file the applications, right? So is it going to be challenge for these startup companies more as compared to the companies those who are already in a greater position?
So it's interesting. The criteria to the financial part of the H1B case is that you have to show that you have ability to pay that worker once they start working. So we usually show tax returns, financial statements. So if you're a startup company, how are you going to do that? So this is how we do it. First of all, they're investors. Sometimes they invest in these startup companies. So we get a commitment from them. We'll have a letter signed that they're going to invest a certain amount of money or, in the business. And then also their potential contracts. Maybe it's the type of business that they have all these lucrative contracts that they're going to be connecting and working on whatever. And so we show the potential for money to come in, plus a commitment from the investor that there are ways for this new company to show that it's going to be financially viable. And then if they feel comfortable, the owner of bringing an H1B worker under this environment, then they can do it. But it's not a straightforward, like solid H1B when you don't have a tax return and financial statements and those kind of things. But this gives opportunity for companies that are young, just starting up, there are other ways to show that they are going to have strong financial ability in the near future. So that's what I would tell them.
All right. All right. Okay. And with that, Jessica, here's another very important question that mostly our viewers were really awaiting for this. That what strategies can employers use to improve their chances of getting an H1B application approved?
Okay, so number one strategy is you got to have a good case. When we take these cases, we want to understand before we file for the lottery, what's the job title, what's the job description, what's the approximate salary they're going to make. We need to understand this because it's not like you file. If you get accepted, we want to make sure we can file that case. So
Mhm.
one thing is to make sure you really understand, is this strong enough for an H1B? Another thing is they have to be very accurate. We have to be very accurate when we file for the registration. Even we have to have the company's legal name correctly. We have to look at the certificate of incorporation, make sure we have the correct name, or if there's a DBA, make sure that's correct. Make sure the tax ID number matches the company name that we're filing for the H1B registration. There are problems. People put the wrong company name in, the wrong tax ID number. You could be a mess. And so even if you make the H1B lottery, what if you can't get a successful case out of it? People file what's called the LCA, the labor condition application. And if they put the wrong things in the wrong boxes, the wrong names of the company, check off things that aren't appropriate, the wrong job titles, etc., then they're going to get a kickback. It's going to either be approved LCA, you file with it, and the H1B gets filed, and the immigration says, sorry, this doesn't match nothing matches your LCA, your H1B case, it doesn't match, then you have a problem. So you really have to look at that LCA and make sure you file it correctly. Also, if you file the LCA and then sometimes you can have an audit that the Department of Labor says we don't recognize this company, send us all sorts of documents to prove it's really a legit company, and that can delay also. And then once that's corrected, you have to make sure you file within the correct time frame. So once you have a 90-day window, usually once that H1B is accepted for the lottery, you have 90 days to file. The LCA takes about 7 days, usually 7 to 10 days to get approved. So you want to file that timely. Some of my peers kind of set up the LCAs before they even get approved for the registry, but I don't. I usually just wait. And once the case is approved for the registry, then we complete the LCA, we submit it, and then hopefully once it gets approved, then even once it gets approved, sometimes people forget. The employer has to sign the LCA. If you submit the H1B and it's not signed, or the forms are not signed correctly, or certain boxes are not checked off correctly, then you have a mess. Then you have a client coming back and saying, I made the lottery, but you messed up my whole case, so I didn't get the H1B. And that is a disaster. That is absolute worst disaster. So you have to make sure that's correct. The other thing is sometimes, this is what we do right from the beginning of the case, is we take the case, but we ask for all the documentation. We want to see the degrees, the transcripts. We want the work experience if it's required. We want reference letters. We want to make sure we have all the things we need to make sure this is going to be a successful case right before we file the lottery. Because when it comes time to filing for the H1B, if they can't get the degree, or they told us the degree, let's say I had a client years ago, they told me, for sure my bachelor's degree is in this particular field. And guess what? When we saw the diploma, it wasn't. And we were like, he's like, I was convinced it was. It was a big mess. Don't ask. It was a big mess. In the end, we were able to get it approved, but it's a long story. But we kind of explained that the degree no longer exists anymore. That was issued by the school. It's this particular degree. It's the equivalent. It was a little complicated, but it's very important that the documentation all be there if you're filing for an H1B. And also, you don't want to miss deadlines. It's very important. You have this 90-day window. Once you get accepted for the lottery, you've got to file within that 90-day window. And if you miss a deadline, that client's going to come back and be like, how could you miss it? You can't miss it. If you're an immigration lawyer, you've got to make all the deadlines. And these are some of the key things I would say to make a successful case is, job description clear, documentation accurate, LCA filed properly, meet all your deadlines, and make sure you really review the file before you submit anything. So everything is correct and consistent with H1B. And that's how you do a winning case if you get the lottery.
All right. I think that's really important, and thank you so much, Jessica, for explaining these things in a very detailed manner. But with this explanation, I also have some questions in my mind. That when you're talking about case, so we would like to like deep dive into case term. Can you explain us what type of case makes a strong, gives a static reason that yes, this person got approved? If you can give examples regarding the cases, that would be more helpful.
So you want me to give you an example of a case that I worked on H1B and how it fit exactly job title, job description, and everything. And it was like a beautiful case. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, of course, that will be too long, but cases are different genres that you can just give us the case related to something so that our viewers can understand, understand in a better way. So, just for that.
Okay, so let's see. So if my client, well, we're doing right now, we're working on different H1Bs, whatever right now. So one we're working on is project manager. Okay, so first we got to come up with the title. So then you hear the word manager in the title. So you have to understand when it's manager, it's going to be a higher wage that they're going to want. The client has to be paid above the minimum wage for where they're going to do their position. So we have to look up what degrees do you need for project management. So he has a management degree, a bachelor's level. It's from an American college. So we don't have to get a degree evaluation for that degree because it's from an American college. If it's a foreign college, we also need an evaluation to determine it's the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree. So we
Mhm.
have the degree. The job description, we talk to the employer about the job description. We ask him what he's going to be doing and is he going to be supervising workers and who's underneath him. If he's not supervising staff, we have to be careful how we use the management title because when you call someone a manager or an executive, then they're going to be paid a higher wage. So how do you know what wage? So we have a system that there's 4 levels. It's called OES, it's our wage system. And the levels are based on who they're going to manage and how much supervision they get. Level 1 is basically entry level, like someone straight out of college. So this gentleman, he's already out of college. He has a few years of experience. He is going to be supervising people. So he's probably going to be between level 2 and 3. Why does that matter? Because we need to understand, is he going to be making above the minimum wage that he has to make? So we need to make sure the employer is willing to pay that and also that there's enough money to pay that. So we go through all of these issues. And if we have that in place, then we're like, okay, he's got the right degree. He's got the right education. Sometimes the job can require work experience. Make sure he has that. His salary is the minimum level that he has to be paid. And the employer is willing to pay that salary and has enough money to pay it. All those pieces need to come together. And then we have a good H1B. Now we just have to produce the documentation. That's H1B.
Right. All right, that's fantastic. Thank you so
Mhm.
much, Jessica, for giving us the example. And I'm sure our viewers are really understanding each and everything because, some of our viewers are watching our session for the first time. And they may develop these types of questions, which are very basic because generally, if we talk about job description or job title, if someone is hiring for the business analyst, then automatically they are going to write down. But still, due to some reason, their application gets rejected. So,
Well, if you keep it too vague, if it's too vague and you can't tie enough in, because I mentioned earlier in our discussion that it has to be, we look at the transcript and we see what courses they took. Can we tie that in? Did you need these classes? Because H1B requires specialized knowledge and skill gained at the bachelor's level or higher. So they have to have those skills. So we look at that bachelor's transcript, we see the job title, we talk to the employer, what does the job entail? Also, is this something typical that the job would require in your workplace and also in the industry? And when all that comes together, then we have a good case. But if it's just too general and it's not something you really need a bachelor's degree for, it becomes a problem. It's not such a good case. Yeah.
all right. I think that's pretty much clear now what's actually a good case means. So that's really great. And with that, Jessica, we already got a lot of tips and also understood the strategies also. So now I would also shed light on the common mistakes that mostly applicants do. So could you please let us know some common mistakes that applicants do and they didn't even realize that? Please go ahead.
Okay. Some of the common mistakes are there are so many changes in our filing fees. You need to know the filing fees for H1B. It's very confusing. We have this special fee now that's been thrown in for processing asylum cases, even though our case is H1B is not an asylum case. If the sponsor has more than 25 workers, you're going to pay a $600 additional filing fee. If it's less than 25 workers, it's $300. So you have this special asylum fee in there. You also have, if they want to expedite their case, there's a filing fee for that. You have the basic filing fee. Then you have, let's see, you have other filing fees as well. I don't have them memorized, but let me see if I have them here. But the point is, there's a lot of filing fees. That's the big picture. There are thousands of dollars in filing fees. And by the way, there's something very helpful online. There's on the immigration website, there's a checklist here. And it'll go through with you all the things you need to put into the case. I have it right here. And also all the forms to make sure you checked everything off right. And online, there's also called filing fee calculator on the immigration website. So you can just plug in the form and it tells you all the fees that are applicable to your case. So that's one thing, is that the filing fees are not the correct amount and you had to file by a certain time. If they throw your case back because you didn't have the right filing fees, You don't get another chance if you missed a deadline. So the filing fees have to be correct. Also, you want to ensure that your LCA, your labor condition application, is certified. People sometimes think I'm in a rush. I got to get this thing filed, but I don't have a certification, so I'll just file without it. You can't. You have to have it certified by the Department of Labor. It's very important.
Yeah.
Another thing also is a weak job description. We talked about a little bit earlier. I'll give you an example of a project management person, and we want to make sure that job description tied in really nicely with their work experience. If you can't tie it in too tightly, that also can create a failure if you don't have the right degrees to match what the job required. And that's very important. And another thing is missed deadlines. And I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, but there are certain deadlines on these cases and you can't miss them. And I know that this is something, I don't know if it's going to come up in our conversation, but students, it's very important with students.
Mhm.
F1, if you have a student visa or a student status and they're running out of time, there's something called cap gap. And so there's a way for them to extend their ability to work in the United States or their F1 as long as that H1B is in the system and processing, and then they can extend it till it used to be October 1st when the start date is for the H1B. Now they gave them a little longer extension until I believe it's April 1st. So if you have a request for evidence and your case is delayed and you can't start it October 1st, and you still need to be in America, they've given you more time even till April 1st to try to get an answer on your case so you can get your case started. So that's something very important. Students really, it's very tough for students because they spend 4 years in college and then they think, okay, I'm just going to go to H1B, but H1B is a lottery. So if they don't get the lottery, if they're STEM students, then they're going to go back in and get additional time, OPT. And if they're not, usually a regular student gets a year of OPT after they finish their schooling. And if they get that, then they get another shot probably the following year of trying for the H1B. So it's hard, but STEM students get several shots because they can keep staying in OPT, and then each year they can keep trying for H1B while they're in STEM OPT. So it's very important not to miss deadlines because it really affects, do you have a shot at the H1B to activate it properly?
That's right. And I think, Jessica, now in this H1B modernization rule, also the I would say the specialty occupation definition has also modified by not just including the STEM degree people, but also those who are actually having a directly related course. So I would also like to know more about it. That do you think that this is actually going to make the process fairer one by keeping away the STEM degree holders and focusing more on directly related? Or do you think that previously how the system used to work, that was better? What do you think about it?
I think as an immigration lawyer practicing 27 years now, that we will always fight for our clients. We don't care. They can modify the regulations in different ways, whatever, but we start a case, we want to make sure it's strong. We look at the job title, we look at the job description, we tell them if you've got a weakness to it, you might want to try a different job title. It'll fit better with your degree or whatever. But it doesn't matter. We will continue to make the best case possible. And because an employer will contact us and say, we need this worker. They have a bachelor's degree. Why is it not an H1B? We try our best to make sure we can make it work for an H1B. So I'm not discouraged by, even if they're trying to tighten up the definitions and stuff, we still will fight as strong as we can for them.
Wow, that's great. And as we also say, where there's a way, where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I think that's completely applicable. And thank you so much, Jessica, for putting up these great pointers. And I would also like to know more about the wages and the salary. So, what role do wages and salary plays in the H1B approval process?
It actually plays a lot of a role because the whole point of the LCA labor condition application is they want to make sure that these foreign workers are being paid a comparable rate to American workers. They don't want to bring in all these foreign workers and then they drive the wage down. They want these workers to make a similar wage to what American workers or legal workers are making. So we have a prevailing wage. First, we see comparable whatever wages for where they're working and the job title. And then once we have something, we look that up, then we file the LCA. The LCA has different levels, as I mentioned, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have an idea what it's going to come back, the LCA. So it's not a shock. When the LCA comes back and someone's like, I can't believe it's not approved. The wage is so different than what we thought. It never happens that way because we first check it. with the Department of Labor and the OES wage survey online. So we're in the ballpark for what wage we think is appropriate. If it does come back that there's a problem, then you have to do it again. And that's, we've got to get moving on these H1Bs. So we don't want that to happen. And the other thing is, it also puts a check on the employer, because once the H1B is approved, the employer has to pay that salary. So if they're in America, they have 60 days to start paying that salary. If they're not in America and they're coming in, they got their H1B visa at the consulate and they enter, the employer has to start paying that within 30 days. So there's certain attestations on the LCA that the employer has to commit to paying that wage, to keeping them employed, as they said in their H1B agreements. So it's a protective feature for everyone, for U.S. jobs, for the foreign worker, and then the employer sees what their responsibilities are. So, yeah.
Absolutely, that's very well said. And with that, another question I would like to know regarding the documentation, because most of our viewers are really confused regarding the documents, and that too in 2025. So, what documentation is absolutely essential when submitting an H1B application?
Well, first of all, I would say don't try it yourself. Because I'm saying, I don't think in my 27 years of practicing, I've had anyone come back and say, I did the whole thing and filed it myself. It's complicated. Okay. So, what kind of documentation? You need the form, the I-129. You need to make sure it's the correct form version. Immigration's always changing the form versions. You need that notice that you were selected for the lottery. You have to submit that. You need the LCA. The LCA is a little complicated. It's not something the average person can just fill it out and I got this. It's not just biographic information. You also need their transcripts and their official transcripts. So if they give you your unofficial transcripts or the school's like taking forever to give them, you need them, and you need the diploma. So it can't be that the school just writes a letter and says, trust me that they got their degree. That does not work. We do a very detailed support letter explaining how they qualify, the H-1B requirements, and also their job description. We also put together, like, if they're in the United States and they're doing what's called a change of status, we need to show that they're maintaining their current status. If they're not here and they do it as consulate processing, where they're out of the country, the H-1B gets approved, and then they're going to go to their interview around October 1st, shortly around that time period, and then enter with the H-1B visa. We need to show that they have complied with everything, they never violated their status, and they're entitled to the benefit of the H-1B visa. So this is the basics of some of the documentation gets put together, and we work together. We work together, the employer, the future employee. I work with them until we get all the documentation in order, and then we submit it. And then everybody gets a copy for their records. The financial, confidential stuff of the employer, we eliminate that from the employee's packet they get. But it's important that let's say when they go to the H-1B visa interview, that they're prepared for it. So we prep them for it. We help them. There's no interview in the United States. Once the case is filed, it comes back. You either get an approval or you get a request for additional evidence. If you get a request for additional evidence, yes, we're all disappointed because we wanted to work the first time, but you just deal with it. You just, everything that they ask for, you just, submit it, and then hopefully you get an approval. So that's it. That's some of the typical documentation for an H-1B.
That's right. And I think, the people, those who get the applicants who get RFEs, they think that it's a rejection. But it's not a rejection, right? It's just that the officials just want more information. So this
It
is
could be a
another.
rejection. You have to be really careful, because sometimes you think, oh, they sent me 10 pages, they hate my case, request for evidence. But if you respond to everything that they ask for, you could get an approval. They just don't understand certain things. Sometimes they send stuff back, they click buttons, and you think, like, did they read my case? But it doesn't matter. Obviously, whoever sent that and clicked the button, they want to know more information. So you just have to give them what they want. But it would have been nice if it got approved the first time around, but RFEs still give you a chance. It's not over. And a lot of times most of the time, we're able to turn them around and get an approval. So yeah, don't give up.
Absolutely. And with that, Jessica, I have another very interesting, or I would say important question, that, if the H1B applicant is doing everything good and they are following a proper process, then can we say that they have a proper chance to get the visa approved? Or we would also like to know, like, what are the chances of an H1B applicant being denied in this year, in 2025?
Okay, so you're talking about the lottery first. What are your chances of getting the lottery, or you're just talking in general to get the H-1B approved?
Okay, I think let's be a little specific. Let's talk about the lottery one.
Okay, so the lottery is like over 700,000 applications last year. So I always tell people it's 1 out of 7 chance. But they start the drawings at the end of March. But I wouldn't be fully discouraged because sometimes in the summer, like in June, there's another drawing. But people have to move on with their lives, so they have to start making their plans. So I tell them, yes, it's unfortunate if you don't make the first round, you better have plan B just in case, because we don't know if we'll have a second round. Okay, so once you're accepted for the lottery, then the chances of your H1B working are very strong. Because I mean, I could just say from my perspective, when I take an H1B, I want to make sure from the front end that we have a very good case. So if an immigration lawyer doesn't get the documentation to prove what they need for the H1B when they have to file from the front end, then that's the problem. Because that's where it fails sometimes, that they didn't realize they didn't have the right documentation. So we do that on the front end, so we prevent that issue. And then it's just the proper, certain immigration attorneys doing this, they have to have certain skill. They know what to look for. They know how to package the case. They know, if the employer, how to deal with the employer, any questions, concerns they have. And then, yes, you have a good chance of it working. Yeah, I would say. I can't give you a percentage of it, but you have a very strong chance of it working if it's presented properly. Yeah.
I was just about to ask the percentage, and you said that you
No, there's no lottery on that. So now your chances really increase. Right? It's not 1 out of 7. It's way better.
hope
Yeah.
so. And because this is a question, that everybody has when they apply for this application, what are the chances? Will it going to happen or not? And some people actually wait for decades. And then after 10 years, they get the approval. So a lot of things are there, but I think having these sessions are really going to brainstorm them. And I think, Jessica, it's the first segment of our this show. And after a break, we'll continue with the second part. So, friends, don't go anywhere because we are really having a great discussion. The session is lots of information over here, and I'm sure you don't want to miss it. So, keep watching Immigration Talk Show. It's me, Sam, with I would say one of the top immigration attorney, Jessica Weiss. You can also contact her on the given contact details. That is 888-689-1862. And you can also email her on jessicaw@waysIPlaw.com. And you can also visit her website, that is www.attorneyjessicaweiss.com. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Till then, keep watching Immigration Talk Show, and we'll be right back. Yeah. All right, welcome back everyone to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host Sam, and today we are having a great discussion with Attorney Jessica Weiss on the topic how to prepare your H1B application process in 2025. So, till now, friends, we have covered the first part where we understood some strategies, some tips, then also common mistakes. Also, what are the roles of wages and salaries? And with that, what are the chances of an H1B visa applicant to get approved? So I think Jessica, till now you are completely, detailing everything and explaining each and everything in a very great way. I would also like you to know that like to know from you that is there any case study that you would like to share with our viewers so that they can also get more connected with that case study and understand this H1B application process in a better way.
Sure. So this case was a woman from China, and she was an accountant, but she didn't have a license. So for H1B, you have to have a license to work in your field. And so I had checked with my peers, looked up the laws, and it said that if you're doing in-house accounting in this particular state, you did not need a license because it's state-based whether you need a license or not. So she got an H1B. She had a bachelor's degree, the foreign equivalent. We had to get it evaluated in accounting. And she worked 3 years in H1B. Then she did another three. In the meantime, we filed for her green card. But because China's so backlogged in green card cases that she had to do, you can get extensions after the 6 years of your H1B. And so she was able to get that. And she just kept getting H1B extensions till her what's called priority date was current for her green card case. And then eventually she got a green card. And boy, was she happy because she had so many years in H1B extending it just because she came from China. Some countries process way quicker, but like India, China, Vietnam, Mexico, these countries have a lot of backlog. So even if you get the H1B, it could take way longer to get the green card. But there is a way for you to just keep extending your H1B if you either have to have an LCA, sorry, not a perm application pending for a year, or the I-140 if it's approved. Part of the green card process, if it's approved, then you can get 3 year extension. So it just depends where you are in the process for the green card, how long H1B extensions you can get. But yeah, it was a whole process. And it's important to know, and it's important for your viewers to know that sometimes you'll have a degree, but you need that license. So to do the H1B, so you have to have that in place too. You can't just file for the lottery if you don't have your degree. You say, oh, I'm finishing up in June, or you don't have your license. You can't file. You have to have things in place. So that's
Mhm.
important to know.
All right, that's great. And that too, an applicant coming from China is really a difficult one. But I think
Yes.
absolutely India, China, they're having a lot of backlog and also the limitation. I mean, cap is also, 65,000, 85,000. So that's a very difficult process for them to get the approval. But I think,
Unless they went to, oh, sorry, Sam, I just mentioned, because it's an important point you just made, that you increase your chances by, you can try for the bachelor's 65,000 lottery and then the master's one if your master's degree is from a US college or university. So I would say to some of these people, try to get to America, do your master's degree here if you can. Then you get a better shot at the H1B. It's not a great shot, but it's 20,000 more for the
Mhm.
master's.
Yeah, but I think Jessica, that will another be a difficult process because to also get graduation, is it easy or is the process simple or that has some more challenge?
The process to get a master's degree in the US?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have to apply to your college. You have to apply to different universities, get accepted into their programs. There's probably different fees if you're a foreigner. You have to make sure you get your student visa on time so you can start the school year. But now they have an expedite track for F1 processing. If you're doing a change of status in the US, you can request an expedite. And the consulates are also been told that the F1 is a priority. If someone has to get to school, we need to put these F1 visa applications in the front because these applications are important. They can't make it to school on time. So,
That's great.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think, Jessica, we have covered some of the questions that I prepared from my end. And now I would like to take up our viewers' questions also because they have been waiting from quite a long time. So Kavya is here, and thank you, Kavya, for your question. And she is asking that I am getting a master's degree from a university that recently lost accreditation. Will I still qualify for the master's cap, or do I need to go through the regular lottery?
Wow, great question. You're going to go through the lottery, okay? And you're going to definitely go through bachelor's because you need to cover yourself. in case you've got a problem that you're not going to make the master's. But I would try for both if you could try, because the thing is, at the time you had got your degree, it was accredited. So I don't know. That could be interesting to see what they do with it. But definitely don't limit yourself to master's. Do the bachelor's too.
All right. Thank you, Kavya. In case if you have any follow-up question or would like to know more about this topic, then please go ahead and we will definitely take them up. Aishwarya is here and Aishwarya is asking that what are the key changes in the H1B application process for 2025 and what specific documents and information I need to gather to support my application and ensure compliance with the new regulation. So this we have already been talking, but if you
Yeah.
could just brief it out. So
Yeah, sure. I mean, what are the key changes? So we talked a little bit about that they want to really make sure that job description and the job duties, that they really tie in closely together, and it's a specialty occupation. I mean, what if you have an occupation that, some kind of administrative assistant doesn't require a bachelor's degree? Maybe the employer thinks it's bachelor's level, but if it's not standard in the industry, it's not going to work. It has to be that the industry requires a bachelor's level education for the position. So that's important. You want to have that in place. You also want to make sure specific documents and information that you need to gather to support your application. We talked about the LCA, the labor condition application, has to be filled out correctly. We talked about the wage needs to be the correct wage for the job title. The documentation, the degree, you have to have the correct degree that you put on the case. You have reference letters for work experience that's required. Those need to be in place, and any other supporting documentation from the employer. So all this documentation, it's critical that all this is in place and that it's reviewed properly, and an immigration lawyer that has experience doing H-1Bs, they can put it all together for you. So it's not like I hear the question almost like you feel like, do I have to put this all together myself? So I always tell my clients that you can do as much as you can on your own, and then I can just charge you to finish it. But H-1Bs don't work that way so well, because you have to have experience doing these. You really need a reliable, talented immigration lawyer who knows what they're doing. So
absolutely. That's very well put up, and thank you so much, Jessica, for clearing up that part as well. Most of our viewers think that they just have to fill up the application or just have to follow what the employer says, but it's not that way. That's why the reasons are so many that why the applications get rejected. So it's very important to talk to an immigration attorney and to consult with them, and that too, because they are going to provide the right guidance. They are going to guide you from like every process, and that's why I would like to also share the contact detail of our attorney also. So friends, you can please go ahead and dial the number that is 888-689-1862, and you can also email Jessica on jessicaw@waysIPlaw.com and visit our website that is www.attorneyjessicaweiss.com. So I'm sure, Jessica, our viewers are definitely going to reach out to you because they have lots of questions and they are really looking to have a personal guidance. So of course, you are definitely going to help them, and they are really looking forward to it.
thank you. I also would say that I offer a free brief consult to everybody, because I feel like even 15 minutes or so, just to give them a little bit of direction. A lot of immigration lawyers don't do that, but I'm giving them a little bit of direction because I feel like it's a very overwhelming process. And sometimes people will come to me and they're planning a year or two from now. They could be a sophomore in college and they're thinking about what are my plans in 2 years. Or I have a parent that knows their kid's going to age out when they're 21 of their current non-immigrant status, and they're trying to strategize for the future for their kid. So they just want to talk about it. Let's just talk about H1B. What are we going to have to do? And also, it gives them a lot of time to look for a sponsor, because you H1B usually need a sponsor. We talked about self-employment, but usually you need a sponsor for H1Bs, especially when they're young out of college. They're usually not starting their own business, but you never know.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And I think now we already took Ashwarya's comment. Now let me take Siddhartha's comment. And Siddharth is asking that how might the concept of specialty occupation under the H1B visa program be impacted by emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and automation? And what strategies can petitioners use to demonstrate that their occupation requires specialized knowledge and qualifications, even in the face of rapidly changing job requirements and industry standards?
Okay, so I would like to see, what degree they have, because remember, H-1B requires a bachelor's degree or the foreign equivalent. You can also have it with work experience. You could have 3 years of experience equals 1 year of degree. But remember, that experience can't just be, like going to a restaurant and flipping, pancakes or something. Like it really has to be specialty occupation. You have to have skills that you would need a bachelor's degree for. So if one thing I would ask is if this person got a bachelor's degree and was in technology, some field, and they were taking some courses in these areas, then that could explain, okay, it's bachelor's level. If it's just work experience, they have 12 years of work experience and they're going to get the equivalent of a bachelor's degree, then we're going to have to show through, for example, you can use an expert opinion letter. Somebody in the industry can say that these skills are gained at a bachelor's level. You need them. They're very specialized knowledge skills. So an expert opinion letter from like a professor, there are companies you can hire and they'll do a special letter for you. You can also have other professionals in the field. You can have a professor even that gives a course on it. So you might have to back it up since it's still new. They're fairly new industries. You may have to back it up with some more evidence that it's really specialized knowledge that is needed. And not just anyone can go online and just learn it very quickly, like within 6 months or something. So it's going to need more to back it up.
All right. Okay, and now let me take Raghav's question quickly. Raghav is asking that what are the implications of having a job title or job description that is too broad or generic versus one that is too narrow or specialized on my H1B visa application? And how can I balance the need for specificity with the need for flexibility in my job responsibility? Yeah.
So I'm just thinking as you're reading the question that market research analyst used to be a very popular category for H1Bs. So what was your degree? Your degree was in marketing. So now it's very general, right? Very general, and market research analyst could be any business market research analyst. So you really have to, if you're going to go with some kind of marketing degree, again, I want to look at the transcript. I want to see what courses they really took. What if it was international marketing? What if it was a specific area marketing? And what if this company really requires that specific area? I want to get it closer to what they really need because otherwise it's too broad. It's too broad, and you're going to get a request for evidence to narrow it down. And if you can't defend it, then you're going to lose. That's how H1B fails. It's a perfect question of how does an H1B fail? If it's too, but at the same time, he says, we need flexibility in my job. Well, you know what? There's what you put on paper and there's what you do at your job. So on paper, it has to work for an H1B. It has to be very specific, connected to the job title and what your educational experience is. And at the job, maybe there's a little more flexibility at the job of how you do your job duties, but it has to fit the requirements for H1B. If it's too broad, it doesn't work.
That's right. And there's a continuation of Kavya's question. Okay, so Kavya has a different question. That is it something different that is to be done for masters and bachelor lottery?
Well, there's a registration that the employer has to do. So once they go into the system and they have to check off different boxes in the lottery. So when you check off the boxes, you're indicating the master's, the bachelor's lottery, so they know which lottery. But yeah, people go for both lotteries also. So you have to, it's important. Yeah. So it's important that when the employer goes into the system and then we check it as well before it's submitted because we want to make sure what if they made a mistake? So we have to do our part, they do their part as well, and then we usually wind up submitting it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And okay, so these were the questions, Jessica, that we got from our viewers. And now we would also like
Great.
to take questions from our Facebook also. So I think control if you could just share the screen and let the Facebook questions. All right. Okay. So this is the question that we got. I think in a comment section on our YouTube channel that viewer is asking, "Hello, good day. Inquiry is that how is the lottery for H1B visa conducted? Then how can I apply as an employee from Ghana?" Okay. So I think let's take the first one.
Okay. So the lottery takes place so March 7th to the 24th. That is when we are doing the registration of H1B candidates. Then in late March, I think March 31st, the lottery starts. So then what happens is you're notified usually end of March, early April, And then between April and June is when you put your applications in. You have a 90-day window. October 1st is when you can actually start working with, if you have your visa or you did your change of status. So that's how it's done. They have, and if they have more that they can issue, like let's say people don't accept it after the 90-day window, then they may do another round in June. Like one year they did it in June. Yeah, get another round. Do you want me to answer the other questions?
Yeah, yeah, please. He's
Okay.
asking how can I apply as employee from Ghana?
So you don't need to be in this country to apply for the H-1B lottery. So there's two ways to do that. If you do get accepted for the lottery and you're in this country, you can do a change of status if you qualify. But if you're not in this country, you just set it up as it's called consulate processing. So you file your H-1B, even if you're not here, you can file your application. And then when it's approved, you'll need to make an appointment and do the visa application at your U.S. consulate in Ghana. And then they'll interview you, and then you enter with your H-1B visa. It's a sticker in your passport, and you enter with that to activate it. And then you asked if I provide any assistance in obtaining employment. So we can't. Ethically, we cannot do that. We can't help you find any jobs. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Okay. And he's also saying that I have a master's degree in industrial finance and investment. Do you help students who want to pursue PhD or MBA program on scholarship? Okay. All right.
Students, 100%. Yeah, I can't do that either. No, I just do the immigration part of it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, that's right. Okay, so let's move ahead with the next comment. Okay, so Ketan has asked a question that, hi everyone, my H1B interview is scheduled coming next week.
Hmm.
That's okay, 6 March, already been done. I'll be working at client location. It's an insurance domain. I do have LCA copy. So is client letter mandatory? Client did not provided any such letter. If VO ask about client letter, then how we can tackle such questions? Any help is greatly appreciated. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't understand. When they filed their H-1B, did they list the locations where they were going to work? I mean,
Okay.
working at client locations, it's an insurance domain. I do have the LCA copy, but so I don't know what is listed on the LCA copy.
Mm,
So that's my question. Is client letter mandatory? Well, they're supposed to list where they're going to work unless they put in general that there's a general vicinity, like in a certain county or whatever. So I'm not clear on that one to answer it.
all right. Okay. Okay. Let's take up the next question. And Ketan, if you could provide more clarity, then it will be easier for us to answer. Okay, so this is another question that is hi, I have filed for an I-290B appeal case for my STEM OPT denial with USCIS Texas Service Center. So, what is the average timeline for the case to be solved? And anyone who has filed for an appeal for STEM OPT got denial? Yeah.
I don't have the exact timeframes, but appeals usually take a year. These are a long time. I don't know. I don't know the strength of the appeal. Also, is it worth it, the appeal? So that's what I don't understand either. But what do they have right now? Right? So if they're appealing a STEM OPT, are they still in OPT, regular OPT? Are they in F1? Because that doesn't stop the clock because you filed an appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
All
so
right.
that's,
But
yeah, they're welcome to reach out to me if they
mhm,
want, give me more information.
absolutely. But overall, we can say it may be like a year
Yeah, it could be.
approx. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a pretty long period, but that's okay. Let's go with the next one. Okay, Green is here, and Green is saying that I am new to this group. All right, I did masters. I am working on H1B as a software developer since last 8 years in USA, and totally 14 years experience, and applied EB2 on 2021 priority year. I'm learning AI development now, so will it be helpful? I mean, sorry, useful for EB1A processing? What are the prerequisites and what are the things can help me to get it? I want to know the complete process for EB1A. Okay.
Wow. So they switched completely. They were EB2 and they were applied for EB2, but because the priority date is not current EB2, people are thinking EB1A, let's move into EB1A. So EB1A has 9 criteria. You have to hit 3 of them. So this is a whole discussion. This person's welcome to reach out to me privately as well, but just so the viewers understand that
Mhm.
It's not just you have a certain amount of skills. EB1A is you have to be nationally or internationally recognized in your field. So that's something I need to understand better. And usually, it's not just that you've worked for a company in a leadership role or played a critical role, that if you've received awards, articles have been written about you, you've written articles in large papers with large circulation, you received a high salary compared to others, memberships in key organizations. There's a lot of different criteria. You have to hit three of them, three of the nine. So I don't know exactly how many he's hit. But definitely people are thinking, okay, EB2 is taking too long. Let's try EB1A. So I don't know if he qualifies. I don't know. He'd have to reach out to me.
All right, absolutely. And that's what Green has also said. Please ping me or comment here. I think I would suggest Green to look out for you. All right. So I think, Jessica, these were the Facebook questions that we got from our viewers. And, as we are already coming across with 1 hour, there are some one or two questions that I would like to ask from you. Okay, this we have already asked. So, yeah, what advice do you have for applicants who have been previously denied, and especially when applying in 2025? And also, what alternative options, if not H1B, then what other options are available for them?
Okay, so if they've previously been denied, the question is why were they denied? Was it at the lottery? They just got rejected from the lottery, so they'll just try again if they want. If
Mhm.
it's because they filed their H1B and there were real serious flaws in it, the question is what were the flaws and can they be fixed? Because sometimes people just are not H1B candidates, so we have to move on to other categories. So some other categories that people move on to if they're from Canada or Mexico, it's TN. TN is a popular one if they have a bachelor's degree in a particular field and they're going to be coming to the United States to work in that field. Sometimes they do TNs.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like ONA, extraordinary ability, we just talked about for green card, but sometimes they're extraordinary ability business developers. They have really talents, extraordinary talent in their field. They have
Yeah.
a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD. Sometimes we move them on to ONA, but you do need a sponsor for ONA. Another
Mhm.
one is L&A. Sometimes we say, okay, you work for a company abroad, you're coming to the United States to work for a company in a manager, executive, or a specialized knowledge position. And sometimes they might qualify for that. Maybe they have to go back for a year and work for the company and then try for the L&A, work for the company abroad. So these are some of the things we think. Also, now that there's a possibility of some self-employment H-1Bs, maybe they're going to think, maybe I want to build up my own company and find a way to sponsor myself for an H-1B. And that's coming up more frequently. I'm seeing people thinking, I can't find a sponsor, maybe I'm just going to make my own company. So these are some of the ways if someone has a degree and they're thinking, bachelor's degree, master's, how can they come here? What are other ways to come here? Some of them just go back into student status. They get another F1, get another OPT, and then they try again. So these are some of the ways that they do try, and give them another opportunity to stay here. And if all else fails, I always tell them married American, but make sure it's a bona fide marriage. That's another way to stay here.
Absolutely. That's a pretty easy as compared to the other process going
Well, Sam,
skills.
honestly, it used to be pretty easy, but the interviews are coming back. So the marriage case interviews, all employment-based green card interviews, these are all coming back now. So everybody's going to be scrutinized in green card applications. Yep.
A lot,
So
I think.
yeah.
All right, that's great. I think that's all, Jessica. You have explained wonderfully. We got to know a lot of things, the alternative options, O1, L1, and that too about marriage thing also. That can also be a good option.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, that's all. And it's always so joyful, so insightful, to have a conversation with you. I feel so happy. And our viewers are really, I would say, they are happy too with your information. So, any last message before wrapping up this session that you would like to share with our viewers?
I would just say that if you really are interested in H-1B, it's not too late. March 24th is the last day we can file. So you're welcome to reach out to me, reach out to an immigration lawyer, and see if you really have a shot at it, because this is it. If you don't play, then you can't win, right? So this is a lottery. So if you don't try, you're not going to get it. So I'm happy to help anybody who's interested.
Of course, that's wonderful. And with that, I think thank you so much, Jessica, for bringing up so much on the table. And we are really appreciating your time, your support as well. And we are really looking forward to more and more shows with you. So again, humble and very thankful. I would say thank you to so much.
Thank you so much.
Right, that's great. Okay, friends. So those who have joined here and asked a lot of questions, I'm sure you got your answer. In case if you still have any follow-up question or would like to know more about the topic, please go ahead and put them on the comment section, or you can also directly reach out to the attorney Jessica Weiss on the given number. You can also email her, and you can also visit her website. And with that's all, friends. It was a 1 hour session. It was a wonderful one. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It was great. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. And also, don't forget to press the bell icon so that you always get updates regarding our latest videos. We are live on YouTube, available on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. Follow us on these many platforms. And keep watching Immigration Talk Show. Meanwhile, I'm Sam, signing off for now. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us.